Peace and blessings is real. Before we get into this word, we must acknowledge our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahushai, for allowing this word to come out. And I hope you sincere brothers and sisters are truly edified by today's word. We're going to name this word tonight, 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and ungodly man all the days of his life. Okay. So what we're going to deal with is mourning. Okay. Obviously, we're all born and one day we will all die. Okay. Only the Lord knows when that's going to happen. But it's not if, it's when we die. Okay. And in the days that we're living in today, I think we should be more preoccupied with dying than being preoccupied with living. That's just the cold-blooded reality of the situation. Okay. So when it comes to mourning is always symbolic to death. And in this word, what I want to speak about is mourning itself and the particular amount of time that you do mourn. Okay. If you didn't know what's the proper time to mourn and get on with life, tonight I'm going to give you the Israelite customs in regards to the typical time you mourn a loss, you mourn someone, a loved one or significant other. Okay. Again, what's the name of tonight's word? 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and ungodly man, you mourn for that person all the days of his life. Now just think about that, y'all. Okay. So we're going to come to you in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 22. And the verse that we're going to speak on would be verse 12. And it reads, 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and ungodly man all the days of his life. Okay. So individuals that have experienced the loss of loved ones, the thing that's automatic is mourn. You have to mourn. A lot of us try to delay mourning, but no matter how long you try to delay mourning, at some point you have to mourn. Okay. There's no way you can cheat mourning. It has to happen. Okay. And it needs to happen and it should happen. But as Israelites, okay, when we mourn, it should be for 7 days. Okay. Why 7 days? Because the scriptures says 7 days. Why? Because that's the Israelite customs when it comes to mourning. Prime example in Genesis chapter 50, verse 10. That was a beautiful example of when they mourned for Jacob, it was for 7 days. And that's again in Genesis 50, chapter 10, is a beautiful example of the Israelite custom when it comes to mourning. It's for 7 days. The biblical number 7 is days of is 7 is completion as well. Okay. Now, this is what a lot of you brothers and sisters might not know. Also, when it comes to Israelite customs, not only do you mourn customarily for 7 days, but also you are buried the same day of your death. See, in the world, you die. Let's say a person dies today and they'll have they're buried maybe a week or two later. That's wrong. Okay. You're supposed to be buried the same day that you die. So if you watch the news and let's say there was a homicide that took place, You are to bury that person that same evening, that same night. You bury that person. Okay? That was the Israelite custom. But they don't do that today. You know, it's weeks, sometimes months before you properly bury someone, depending on what their situation is, whether the person had life insurance or whatever the case may be. But what you see on the screen is what it looks like to mourn. Okay? And mourning is just part of life. You know, it comes with life, man. And like I said, customarily, 7 days is typically that window to mourn. Now, there is instances where people will mourn for you for 30 days. I think when you lose a child, 30 days is customarily, I think, the time allotted to do that. And even 30 days is not enough. But Moses, according to Deuteronomy 34:8, they mourned for him for 30 days. And also Aaron, they mourned for him for 30 days, which was in Numbers 20, verse 29. You see? It's an unfortunate situation, man, but this is part of life we have to deal with. It says in Sirach chapter 22, verse 12, it says, 7 days do men mourn, do men express grief, do men express sorrow. 7 days do men share tears of emotion. Okay? For him that is what? Dead. For him that's no longer alive. For him that is deceased. For him that is expired. You see that? So we understand that 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead. But it also says, but for a fool and ungodly man, all the days of his life you mourn for him. Okay? Again, what's the Israelite custom to mourn? 7 days. But for a fool and an ungodly man, you mourn for him his whole entire life, man. Now, what's a fool and an ungodly man? Okay? A fool would be someone that indulges in wickedness. Okay? He's a depraved person. Okay? He's trifling and he lacks sound wisdom. That's a fool. For a person like that, you mourn for him, that person's whole entire life. And not only him, you also mourn one's entire life for the ungodly, for the ones that are polluted by wickedness, by those who disregard the Lord, by those who's extremely disobedient. You are to express grief, sorrow, and share tears of emotion for this person's whole entire life. Sad, man. Sad. When you go up a verse from Sirach chapter 22 to verse 11, opposed to verse 12, matter of fact, we're going to go all the way, we're going to bring out, as we get ready to close out this word, Sirach chapter 22, verse 11, 12, and 13. And it reads in Sirach 22:11, weep for the dead, okay? For he have lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he wanted understanding. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest. But the life of a fool is worse than death. Verse 12, 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and an ungodly man, all the days of his life are you to mourn for him. Verse 13, talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that have no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. Depart from him, thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with madness. Okay? So, again, brothers and sisters, 7 days, man, you mourn for your average brother. But for a fool and an ungodly man, you mourn for him His whole entire life, man. Yeah. He's walking dead. He's spiritually walking dead and don't even know it. So listen, man, I know death is not something we want to talk about. We want to be readily accessible to deal with. It's the toughest thing to deal with. But when that happens, you have to, there's a thing called mourning. And you have to mourn. You have to set the reboot button and get on with life. As no matter how tough it is, you have to move a step forward. And I hope you sincere brothers and sisters, man, truly are edified by this word. And I hope tonight you learned some information that you didn't know before. Because that's what we do, man. We try to shoot for the stars every time, man, when we bring this gospel to you. I know somebody that's watching this video might be going through a mourning period right now. And if you are, just know the Lord, man, all praise to Yahweh through his only begotten son, Yahweh. Yield to him for understanding in a time like this. Okay, if you are dealing with a loved one that you have lost and you are in the state of mourning, my heart goes out to all of you. And again, this is what you see on the screen is what it looks like, man, when you're in a state of mourning. It's not a beautiful sight. We give all praises once again, glory and honor to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh, for allowing his word to come out. And I hope y'all were edified, man, sincerely. And, hey, keep Yahweh through his only begotten Son, Yahweh, first in everything that you do. And stay prayed up, man. Shalom.